What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fragrance Fraternity. You know what the topic of discussion is here today. We're talking about men's fragrances, and today we're talking specifically about men's fragrances that might bring about some nostalgia. Fragrances from eras gone by, stuff that still smells great today, you can still rock, feel confident wearing, and may even pull you a compliment. You never know. So today I have 10 selections for you, mainly from the mid-2000s and from the 90s. A little bit of a combination of different scent profiles. Excited to tell you about it. I got 10 of them. Let's jump into this first one today. This first one is going to be Lacoste Essential. A great everyday fragrance, a very nice, green, fresh, easygoing, versatile fragrance that doesn't cost a whole lot of money. It's right there in that mid-tier pricing. Has a nice grassy type of a green, aromatic way about it. A nice scent profile here that you can really pull off in any situation. And one thing that makes this fragrance special, it has a tomato leaf note, which you don't really see in that many fragrances. You see it in some, but the way it's used here really shines and is just a great office wear, daily wear, school, gym, very fresh kind of fragrance that you can pretty much rock anywhere. Lacoste Essential, it's a great one. Keeping it green now. Keeping it with that whole green trend, but slightly more woody now with 212 from Carolina Herrera. Just such a great fragrance that has really withstood the test of time. Still to this day, I love to pull this one out and wear it, and it doesn't smell dated, it doesn't smell old school. It just is great, and it's a nice take on a woody aromatic men's fragrance. Woody aromatic with some green nuances in there as well. And obviously you get this really nice magnetic cap that you get with pretty much all the 212 fragrances. You can see the juice level here. Doesn't really come on camera that well, but you can see the liquid level through these 212 and also through the men part on the back. But overall, a fragrance that's really worth trying if you enjoy green fragrances. This is definitely one worth checking out as you begin to build your collection and begin to increase your understanding of men's fragrances and kind of how we got to where we are today. 212 Men is definitely one that you want to get your nose on from Carolina Herrera. Whoa, almost hit the camera there. All right, next one. Here we go. This one is the newest one to my collection, and I absolutely love it. It is Moschino Uomo. So the way that I learned about this fragrance was I was in a TLTG live stream, and I was asking him, you know, what are some of the essential fragrances that if you want to expand your knowledge, if you want to gain an appreciation of 90s perfumery, what are some of the top fragrances that I should get my nose on? And this is the one he recommended to me. And it was a love at first sniff, really fresh, kind of airy fragrance here. Let me give it a spray here just to familiarize myself with a little bit. Ooh, that's great. Very citrus forward, fresh fragrance here that is again going to work in many situations. It does have that 90s era to it a little bit more. It's got a little bit more florals than you're maybe typically used to seeing in men's fragrances today, which is kind of what's a little bit more typical of the 90s. The floral notes were a little bit more pronounced, and that's just one thing that kind of dominated 90s fragrances a little bit more so. But still very easy to wear, easy to pull off, doesn't smell feminine at all, very masculine, but also citrusy, fresh, and sparkly, uplifting, easygoing, very enjoyable scent. Moschino Uomo. It smells quite classy too, I might add. All right, the next one is one of my first ever, if not my first ever fragrance that I wore back in middle school. Versace The Dreamer, you know, and this is a pretty intense fragrance to start off with as a middle schooler looking back. Like, this is a very manly scent, you know, it's a tobacco floral, and also there's one note that carnation, that's the note that I was thinking of. So those are the main notes you're going to smell here. This is a very mature type of a smell, but it's a little bit more divisive too. So not everyone is a huge fan of this fragrance, and I can understand why. It's a little bit more edgy. It does have this kind of sharpness, this punch to it, I guess that you could say, to where it does become a little bit more divisive. But to me personally, this is just such a love and such a nostalgic pick, and a very excellent fragrance in the fact that it smells great, but also was one of the very last fragrances that Versace creatively directed before his passing. So it kind of has an important place in the history of perfumery as well. Versace The Dreamer, definitely worth at least trying. It's not that expensive right now, and just be ready if you're not crazy about 90s style fragrances, or maybe you're unsure about what that genre entails, what that era entails, and you kind of want to get your nose on something that is a really good representative of the 90s, check out Versace The Dreamer. This is a good choice to go with. And you might find that you really love it. The opening may be a little bit divisive, maybe difficult for some, but it's a little bit more love it or hate it with the Dreamer. The next one up we have is Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger. Can't really make a nostalgic fragrance list without talking about Tommy, because this was just such a hit in the 90s. It's a green, fresh, spicy type of fragrance. It's got some nice aromatics in there, and it's got some nice citruses in there as well. Very sparkly, effervescent, uplifting, versatile. Just an excellent fragrance for a signature scent or for everyday use. Also very inexpensive these days. I got this little bottle for I think like $15. So if you see it at Ross, it pops up there all the time, and you want to dive into the 90s a little bit, I think Tommy's a great place to start. So Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger, a beautiful, effervescent, sparkly, citrus green fragrance. The next one up we have is going to be one that might catch some hate, and I'll get into why. So everybody always talks about Nautica Voyage, but nobody really mentions Nautica Blue. And Nautica Blue has kind of been overshadowed by Voyage, but I think it's still a pretty decent fragrance. Now, for a lot of people, especially the people watching this, you're a more experienced user of fragrance, your nose is a little bit more developed. You may not enjoy Nautica Blue because it is such a basic, generic fragrance, right? And if you're looking for something interesting, complex, this is not it. But to the untrained nose, just to the average, everyday person that smells this, they're going to think it smells great. It's got that fresh blue shower gel type of DNA to it. It's got some watery, C note type of a DNA to it as well that you would expect with a blue fragrance. And it really reminds me of a blue snow cone. So a little bit synthetic in that way, but if you enjoy like a blue snow cone, if you think that's something that might be appealing, check out Nautica Blue. And I think for just your average everyday person, they're going to really enjoy the way that one smells. The next one up is also, it's not really a blue fragrance, but it comes in a blue bottle. This is Bulgari BLV pour Homme, or I've also heard this referred to as Bulgari Blue. Not 100% sure what the name is, but whatever the name is, this fragrance smells incredible. I get some nice florals here. It's got this soapy, powdery nature to it. Definitely more on the unique side without being too challenging or difficult to pull off. If you enjoy powdery fragrances with a bit of floral nature to it, then you're going to really like this one. If you want something that is soapy, clean, similar to Prada L'Homme, that's the one I always compare it to, but it doesn't smell exactly like it. It's like a distant cousin without iris and more florals is the best way that I can describe this one. But if you want just a clean, luxurious fragrance that will just have you smelling professional, BLV is a great choice to go with. The next one up we have is from the house of Burberry. This is going to be the most warm and spicy type fragrance here. Good for the winter and also good for the fall time as the temperature starts to come down. I'm going to start pulling this one off into my rotation table to get some use into it because it's been too hot, but I've missed it. I really have missed Burberry London during the summer because it's been too hot to wear it. But one of my favorite warm spicy fragrances, and really that is not a category that I personally love to wear so much, but for some reason this one just really works for me. Super masculine, it's woody, it's also got tobacco in it, it's got a bit of port wine into it, it's got the spices, and it really just reminds me of the holiday time, of hanging by the campfire with the family, just spending good quality time together with the family. The temperatures are coming down, maybe you're going shopping for some gifts at the end of the year. That's the picture that this always paints in my mind. Just a really nice, warm, spicy tobacco, masculine fragrance. And it's a great one. Probably the best one from the House of Burberry, guys. If you see this one out, I just recommend blind buying it. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I know many of you do as well. I have two more fragrances. This one's been going pretty quick. This one is Lucky For You by Lucky Brand. This is another green fragrance. Look at that green juice color. Isn't that phenomenal? And this one is a soapy, grassy fragrance. So more soapy than some of the other green scents that we've talked about so far, which come across a little bit more floral and or citrus dominant, this one really does have that soapy nature to it. And this is not going to be the most expensive smelling fragrance in the world. This is like a $20 to $25 fragrance, but it still smells great considering the price range, and it's just one that I really like to throw on casually. And guys, I did test this cap. You can use it as an eraser, all right? I don't know if kids are still using pencils in school or whatever, but I tried it before filming this video because I was making that joke before, but it turns out that it actually did work as an eraser. So you get a fragrance and an eraser, throw it in your backpack if you're a youngin' watching this, and you get two things for one, just like that. Lucky for You is a great fragrance. I think I'm going to make a back to school video, even though I'm a little bit late on that, but I want to make a video on that topic. So I think tomorrow I'm going to do a back to school video, and I may actually talk about that one again. So sorry for the repeat, but probably going to have to mention that one in that video. It's just really perfect for that topic. Okay, last one up for today. This is from the house of Montblanc. One fragrance that really got me into this game early on, back when I was maybe a freshman in high school. Montblanc Individuel, a really nice synthetic, clean fragrance. It's got this dryer sheet. Just took a shirt out of the dryer. Just did a load of laundry type of a smell to it. Very clean. And it's got a nice little raspberry touch to it as well. So slight fruitiness from the raspberry. Kind of similar to Homme, if you know that fragrance, or Original Santal by Creed, if you're familiar with either of those. But it's not so like syrupy sweet like the Homme is. That one can be a little bit headache inducing and a bit cloying. This one's a lot smoother, more rounded off, and a bit fresher, and just overall better. This is one fragrance that I'm going to keep in my collection forever, and it's just one that I always come back to, both out of nostalgia and because I love this fragrance. Montblanc Individuel, if you want a nice, clean, dryer sheet type of a fragrance with a bit of a raspberry thrown in there as well. This is a great one to go with, and I get really good performance here too. So good bang for your buck there. That's it. That's it for today. Give me one fragrance that you like that was maybe released in the early 2000s or the 90s or even the 80s, you know, something from back in the day, a throwback fragrance that you still rock today. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching, guys. More videos to come, more fragrances to come at the Fragrance Fraternity. Feel great out there, smell great out there, and be a great person to all those around you. And together, we'll be smelling phenomenal. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.